My dead grandma warned me, cancel your wedding. Go to the house of your mother-in-law. You'll see. What I found there changed everything. The dream that ruined my sleep. I never believed the dead could speak to the living until the night before my wedding. My name is Ariana, and for most of my life, my grandmother, Grandma Rose, was the only person who truly understood me. She passed away 2 years ago, yet on the night before my happiest day of my life, she returned, not with love, but with a warming. The dream felt too real to be a dream. She was standing at the foot of my bed wearing the same pale blue dress she was buried in. Her hair, silver and soft like always, fluttered even though there was no wind. But her eyes, they were not warm. They were urgent, terrified. "Ariana," she whispered, "my sweet child, cancel your wedding." I froze. My heart hammered inside my chest. I tried to speak, but no words came out. She raised a trembling finger. "Go to the house of your mother-in-law," she said. "Go before the ceremony begins. You must see something that will destroy you if you marry without knowing the truth." Her voice cracked as if she were in pain. I stepped closer. "Grandma, what are you trying to say? What will destroy me?" But her figure flickered like candlelight in the wind. "You'll see," she whispered. "It's already too late. But you must hurry. You mustn't let them know you are coming." Then she vanished, leaving behind the single scent that always followed her, lavender and old books. I woke up drenched in sweat, my hands shaking so violently I nearly dropped the glass of water beside my bed. It was 3:14 a.m. At first, I tried to convince myself it was wedding stress. Maybe my brain was playing tricks on me. But then something else happened. My phone lit up on its own. A single notification. From unknown number. Don't marry him. I stared at the message, my hands cold as ice. I typed back immediately. Who is this? Is this some kind of joke? No reply. My heart pounded. Was it connected to the dream? No, it was impossible. I tried calling my fiancé, Daniel, but cut the call halfway. What was I even going to say? "Hey babe, my dead grandmother told me to spy on your mother-in-law." He would think I'd lost my mind. And yet, I couldn't shake off the fear. My grandmother had never appeared in dreams before, not once since her death, and she had never lied to me in her entire life. The rest of the night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, fighting between two truths. I loved Daniel, but my grandma had never warned me without reason. By sunrise, I had made my decision. I would go. I would visit Daniel's mother before the wedding, secretly, exactly as Grandma told me. What I didn't know was that the moment I stepped foot inside that woman's house, my entire life would be ripped apart. The house no one was supposed to enter. By 7 a.m., the sky outside was still pale, touched with soft morning gold. It should have been a peaceful day, a joyful day, my wedding day. But instead of sitting in a makeup chair, smiling with excitement, I was driving alone toward the last place I ever expected to go, Daniel's mother's house. Her name was Margaret, and even though she always acted polite, something about her made my heart uneasy. She had this stiff smile that never reached her eyes, the kind of smile that hides things instead of expressing them. Still, I tried to ignore it for Daniel's sake. Love makes you ignore many things. But today, I couldn't ignore anything anymore. My grandmother's warning kept ringing in my ears. Go to your mother-in-law's house. You'll see. I kept replaying the dream, trying to understand what exactly I was supposed to see. I didn't have an answer. When I reached her neighborhood, my stomach twisted. All the curtains were closed. Every house looked normal, except hers. Her windows were covered, completely dark inside, even in daylight. I parked my car 2 houses away so no one would notice me. My hands shook as I stepped out. Was I really doing this? Yes. Something inside me, something deeper than fear, told me I had to do it. I walked up her driveway. The air felt unusually cold. Even the birds were silent. When I reached the door, I noticed something strange. The door was slightly open. Not fully, just enough to suggest someone had left in a hurry, or someone expected a visitor. I swallowed hard. "Hello?" I whispered. No answer. I pushed the door gently. It creaked loudly. My heart climbed into my throat. Inside, the house was dim. Heavy curtains blocked all sunlight. The air smelled like old perfume mixed with something metallic, something sharp. I stepped in slowly. The living room was neat, too neat, like a room staged for visitors who never arrived. Every cushion perfectly straight, every picture frame polished. But one detail chilled me. There were no photos of Daniel after the age of 10. Only childhood pictures. Nothing from high school, nothing from college, nothing from recent years. Why? I walked further in. "Ariana!" My heart nearly stopped. The voice wasn't human. It came from somewhere deep in the house, so faint it almost sounded like a sigh carried on the wind. I spun around. "Who's there?" No response. My breath quickened. I should have left. I should have run out of that house and straight back to my car. But something pulled me forward, like invisible hands guiding me. Then I saw it. A long hallway, darker than the rest of the house. At the far end, a faint red glow leaked from underneath a closed door. My knees weakened. Why was there a red light? And coming from what room? I moved carefully down the hallway. Every step creaked beneath my feet. The walls felt too close, the air too thick. When I reached the door, I noticed another strange thing. Someone had scratched into the wood, deep, desperate marks, like fingernails clawing to escape. My breath hitched. My heart hammered so loudly I thought the whole house could hear it. I placed my hand on the doorknob. It was warm. Too warm. I whispered to myself, "Grandma, what did you send me here to see?" I turned the knob slowly. The door opened, and what was inside made me step back in absolute horror. I was not supposed to be there, and someone shouldn't exist. The door creaked open, and for a moment, my mind could not understand what my eyes were seeing. I just stood there, frozen, breath locked inside my lungs. Inside the room was a dim red lamp, glowing like a dying ember. The walls were covered, and I mean covered with photographs. Hundreds of them. Some pinned, some taped, some nailed. But every single one had one thing in common. They were all pictures of me. Me at the grocery store. Me walking to work. Me at Daniel's apartment building. Me with my friends. Me sitting alone at a cafe. Pictures taken from a distance. Pictures taken through windows. Pictures taken at times I thought I was completely alone. My knees buckled. I grabbed the doorframe to keep myself from collapsing. No, no, this isn't real. My voice was barely a whisper. Who took these? Why were they in Daniel's mother's house? Why didn't I know I'd been watched for months, maybe even years? I stepped inside, shaking so badly I had to hold the wall to stay steady. Then I noticed something even worse. Some of the photos had red circles drawn around them. Others had dates marked in the corner. A few had words written beneath them. Not good enough, too trusting, she doesn't suspect. My skin crawled. I moved closer to a table in the center of the room. On it lay a thick notebook. My name was written on the cover. Hands trembling, I opened it. Inside were pages filled with writing, obsessive, messy handwriting. And every page was about me. My routines, my habits, my weaknesses, my fears, even private things I had never told anyone, including Daniel. How? I whispered. How do they know this much? A shivering breath escaped my throat. My eyes burned with panic. I flipped another page. Then my entire body froze, because the next page contained a list titled Wedding Day, Final Plan. I read the first line. Make sure Ariana drinks the tea. My stomach dropped so fast I almost gagged. Tea? What tea? What was going to happen to me? The second line made my legs give out completely. She will not resist once the sedative takes effect. A choked sound escaped me. Sedative? Why would Daniel's mother need to drug? No. I refused to believe Daniel knew about this. He couldn't. He loved me. He had to love me. Right? But the third line shattered that hope. After the vows, Daniel will take her upstairs. I could not breathe. Upstairs where? At the wedding venue? At their house? For what? My hands shook so violently, I dropped the notebook. It hit the floor with a loud slap that echoed through the room. And suddenly, from somewhere behind me, footsteps, slow, heavy, approaching. I turned around sharply, heart crashing inside my ribcage. A shadow stretched across the hallway floor, growing longer, moving toward the door. Someone was coming. Someone who knew I was in the forbidden room. I backed away. But there was nowhere to go. The photographs seemed to stare at me from the walls, watching me panic. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then a voice, low, almost whispering, said, Ariana, you shouldn't have come here. My entire body turned to ice, because I recognized the voice. It wasn't Daniel's mother. It was someone far, far worse. The voice I never expected. My blood turned to ice. That voice, that calm, familiar voice whispering my name from the hallway, it wasn't Margaret. It wasn't Daniel. It was Daniel's brother, Ethan. The one Daniel always said was traveling, busy, rarely home, not close to the family. The one I had only met twice. The one whose eyes always lingered on me a second too long. He stepped into the doorway slowly, his face half lit by the red lamp behind me. A cold smile stretched across his lips. Ariana, he said softly, like he was greeting an old friend. I knew you'd come someday. Grandma Rose was always the smart one. My stomach dropped. How do you know my grandmother's name? I whispered. He chuckled. Oh, we know a lot more than just her name. The way he said we made my skin crawl. My voice came out shaky. This room, these pictures, what is all this? He tilted his head slightly, as if amused by my fear. This? He gestured around casually. This is preparation. Margaret and I have been preparing for years. Daniel is helpful, but he doesn't understand the deeper purpose. My heart cracked. Daniel is involved? Ethan shrugged. He knows enough. He knows what the wedding truly means. I backed away until my shoulders hit the wall. You're lying. Daniel would never hurt me. Ethan's smile widened. That's what makes this so fun. You really think you know him? A sound cracked in my chest, a painful blend of anger and fear. Why are you doing this? I demanded. Why me? Ethan stepped into the room. Each step slow, controlled, predatory. He stopped only a few feet from me. Because, Ariana, "You're special." His eyes darkened. "You're exactly what our family needs." My breath froze. "Need? For what?" I whispered. "I don't understand." "You don't have to," he interrupted. "You just have to follow the plan. Drink the tea, say the vows, go upstairs after the ceremony. Everything else isn't your concern." My heart pounded violently. "No," I said, shaking my head. "I'm not marrying Daniel now. Not after this." Ethan laughed gently, as if I had told a cute joke. "You think you have a choice." He reached into his pocket. My body stiffened. My fingers curled into fists. I braced myself to run. But he didn't pull out a weapon. He pulled out my grandmother's locket. I gasped. My grandmother had been buried with that locket. It was her most precious possession. "How did you—" Ethan said, "I believe this belongs to you." Dangling it between his fingers, my legs weakened. How did you get that?" I whispered. "Your grandmother was a very stubborn woman." He stepped closer. "She tried to interfere back then too. We made sure she couldn't." My heart stopped. What do you mean?" My voice trembled. Ethan leaned closer, his breath chilling my cheek. "It means, Ariana, she didn't die of natural causes." The world tilted. He smiled. "She died because she tried to warn you." My throat burned with a scream I couldn't release. "And now," he whispered, tightening the grip on the locket, "you're doing the same thing." My legs finally moved. I grabbed the nearest object, a heavy framed photo, and smashed it straight into Ethan's shoulder. He staggered backward, shocked, and I ran. I sprinted out of the room, down the dark hallway toward the front door. But when I reached it and yanked it open, someone was standing outside, waiting, blocking my escape. And this time, it was Daniel. The truth Daniel could no longer hide. Daniel stood in the doorway, blocking the exit. His suit jacket was still on, his tie perfectly straight. He looked like a groom ready for his wedding, except his expression wasn't loving or confused. It was cold, calculated, as if he had been expecting this moment. "Ariana," he said quietly, "you weren't supposed to come here." My breath shuddered. "Daniel, move, please, let me leave." He didn't move an inch. Behind me, I could hear Ethan recovering, footsteps echoing down the hallway. I was trapped between the two brothers like prey, cornered by hunters. I stepped back from Daniel, shaking. "You knew about the room? The pictures? The plan? All of it?" Daniel looked away for a second, jaw tightening. "I didn't want you to see it like this." The words hit me like a punch. "See what like this?" I whispered. "That your family has been following me, watching me, planning to drug me on our wedding day?" Daniel exhaled slowly, closing his eyes for a moment as if gathering courage. "It's complicated, Ariana." "No," I snapped. "It's not. It's sick." Ethan reached the main room and leaned against the wall, rubbing his shoulder where I had hit him, smirking. "Go on, Danny. Tell her. It's time." Daniel shot him a warning glare, then looked back at me. His voice softened, almost pleading. "Ariana, do you remember when we first met? At the bookstore?" I whispered. He nodded. "You think it was by chance, but it wasn't. I chose you." The floor tilted beneath me. "You... what?" Daniel stepped closer. I stepped back. "My family, we come from a long line of caretakers, guardians of something very old, very important. Something that requires a specific type of woman as a vessel for—" "Daniel," I cut him off, trembling. "You're scaring me." He flinched. "That's not what I want. I love you, Ariana. I chose you because I knew you were the one who could handle the burden." "Burden of what?" He didn't answer. But Ethan did. "With marriage," Ethan said, stepping forward, "comes the ritual." My skin crawled. "No, no ritual. I'm not doing anything. I'm leaving." Daniel reached out suddenly, grabbing my wrist. "Listen to me," he said desperately. "If you run, we can't protect you." "Protect me from what?" I cried. Both brothers fell silent. It was the worst silence of my life. Then Daniel whispered the words that shattered me. "Your grandmother discovered the truth. She tried to stop the ritual, and that's why she died." I felt the room spin. Tears rushed into my eyes. You killed her!" Daniel's face twisted with pain. "I didn't want to. I begged them not to touch her. But she interfered, Ariana. She threatened the balance. She was going to expose us." I sobbed, stumbling backward. Ethan stepped closer. "Danny, she's getting hysterical. Just bring her inside. The sedative is ready." Daniel squeezed his eyes shut, torn between two sides, the family he came from and the woman he claimed to love. When he opened his eyes again, I no longer recognized him. He moved toward me slowly, too slowly, like someone approaching a frightened animal. "Ariana," he said, voice trembling, "don't make this harder. Just come with me. After the ceremony, everything will make sense." My tears blurred my vision. I looked at Daniel, the man I loved, and saw a stranger. "No," I whispered, and with all my strength, I shoved him aside and ran. I bolted past him, toward the back of the house, the only place left that wasn't blocked. I crashed through a door, stumbling into a cold basement staircase. But as I rushed down, heart thundering in my chest, I realized something that made my blood freeze. This wasn't a basement. It was a hidden room, and it wasn't empty. What I found inside proved that the ritual wasn't just real. It was already in motion. The ritual they prepared without me. The door slammed behind me as I stumbled down the narrow wooden stairs, nearly falling. My breath came out in sharp, painful bursts. I didn't know where I was going, only that it was the only direction left. When my feet finally hit the basement floor, I froze, because this wasn't a basement. This was a ritual chamber. Candles, dozens of them, burned in a perfect circle on the floor. Symbols I didn't recognize were painted onto the concrete in dark red ink, or something far worse. At the center was a braided rope, long, thick, and clearly handmade, tied into a noose-like loop. The air smelled of sage, burnt herbs, and something metallic. A cold draft brushed my neck. My voice trembled. "What is this?" Then I saw it. A chair placed in the center of the circle, straps attached to the arms and legs, a glass cup on a small altar beside it, still warm, filled with dark tea. The same tea Margaret always offered me whenever I visited, the tea I had politely refused every single time. My knees weakened. I grabbed a pillar to steady myself. Behind me, faint footsteps echoed upstairs. They were searching, calling my name. "Ariana!" Daniel's voice, panicked, sharp. "Come back, please. You don't understand what you're doing." Oh, I understood enough. My legs carried me forward toward the altar. Something was lying beside the cup, a folded photograph. With shaking fingers, I opened it. It was a picture of my grandmother, but not the version I remembered. She was tied to the same chair, crying, terrified. My heart split open. A choked noise escaped my throat. "No, Grandma, no!" I pressed my hand to my mouth, tears spilling down my cheeks. This was what she tried to warn me about. This was what she tried to stop. I stumbled backward, bumping into a table. A thick, leather-bound book slid off and hit the floor with a thud. Another book of their preparations. I picked it up. Inside, the writing was older, faded, written in different hands through generations. Every page described the same thing, a ritual to bind a chosen bride to their family bloodline. A bride with emotional purity, high intuition, unbroken lineage, words that made my skin crawl. Then I saw a name circled in bold ink. Ariana Rose Harper. Chosen, marked, targeted since childhood. My breath hitched. There were dates, notes, observations about me from years back. They'd been watching me long before I ever met Daniel. My chest tightened painfully. This wasn't love. This wasn't destiny. This was selection. And then, a floorboard creaked behind me. I spun around. Daniel stood at the bottom of the staircase, breathing hard, eyes wide with desperation. "Ariana, please, just listen." I shook my head violently. "No, stay back." He lifted both hands slowly, as though approaching a wounded animal. "I never wanted this," he said, voice breaking. "I fought them for years. I told them I loved you, that you weren't like the others." "Others," I whispered. My knees trembled. "How many others?" Daniel's face collapsed in pain. "Ariana, please, don't ask me that." My stomach twisted in horror. Behind him, Ethan appeared, descending the stairs casually, like he was enjoying a show. "Told you she'd find the room," he murmured. Daniel snapped, "Ethan, stop! Just stop!" But Ethan ignored him. Instead, he stepped forward, eyes glinting with cruel amusement. "This is where she belongs. Just like Grandma Rose belonged here. Just like the others." "No," Daniel barked, stepping between us. "Ariana isn't going through with this. I won't let it happen." Ethan scoffed. "You think you get to choose? You think any of us get to choose?" Then he said words that made my blood run cold. "Ariana is already marked. She cannot leave." I backed away until my shoulders hit the altar. My heart roared in my ears. Daniel reached toward me, tears in his eyes. "Ariana, please, I'm begging you. Don't run. Don't make them hurt you. I can still protect you." "No," I whispered. "You can't." Ethan suddenly lunged toward me. I grabbed the only thing near my hand, the still burning candle, and flung it at his face. He screamed as hot wax splattered onto his skin, and as he staggered back, I bolted past both brothers, sprinting up the stairs, shaking, gasping, barely able to breathe. I burst through the basement door, only to freeze, because standing in the hallway, blocking the front exit, holding something behind her back, was Daniel's mother, Margaret. Her smile was calm, cold, predicting everything. "Ariana," she said softly, "it's time."
The ending no one saw coming. Margaret stood perfectly still in the hallway, her posture straight, her expression unsettlingly calm, like a woman who had rehearsed this moment her entire life. Behind me, I could still hear Ethan shouting in pain, Daniel calling my name, footsteps rushing up the basement stairs. I had seconds, maybe less. "Move," I whispered, my voice breaking. Margaret didn't move. Instead, she lifted what she'd been hiding behind her back, a syringe filled with a cloudy liquid. My body turned to stone. "Please, Ariana, don't run. This is easier if you stop fighting. Once it's done, you won't remember anything." My heart slammed against my ribs. "I'm not going with you," I said, my voice trembling. "I'd rather die." Margaret's expression didn't change. "That can be arranged." She stepped forward. I stepped back, but there was nowhere to go. Ethan's footsteps were getting closer. Daniel was shouting, panicked, desperate. And Margaret? She looked like she had already won. She lunged. And I ducked. The syringe grazed my shoulder as I twisted away. Pain burned across my skin. I stumbled into the living room, grabbing the first thing I could, a heavy lamp, and swung it wildly. Margaret cried out as it hit her wrist and the syringe dropped to the floor. I kicked it away with all my strength. Ethan reached the top of the stairs, face twisted with rage, wax still dripping down his cheek. Daniel wasn't behind him anymore. For a split second, I wondered where he had gone. Then a loud crash echoed through the house. The back door. Daniel had gone outside. Why? To block the other exit? To call someone? To finish what he started? I didn't have time to guess. Margaret lunged again, grabbing a fistful of my hair. I screamed as she yanked me backward. You were supposed to be obedient. You were supposed to save our family. I clawed at her hands, kicking, twisting, when suddenly, bang! The front door slammed open. A figure stood in the doorway, panting, wild-eyed, gripping something in his hand. It was Daniel, holding a fire extinguisher. "Ariana, get down!" I dropped instinctively. Daniel swung the extinguisher with all his strength, striking Ethan across the temple. Ethan collapsed instantly, unconscious. Margaret screamed, "Daniel, what are you doing?" Daniel didn't answer. He sprayed the extinguisher directly at her face, forcing her to let go of me as she stumbled backward, coughing violently. He grabbed my wrist. "Run!" We bolted through the front door, sprinting down the driveway, Daniel pulling me faster than my legs could move. "Ariana, we have to get to the road," he shouted. "They'll wake up soon." "Daniel, I..." gasped. "You helped them, you..." "I know. I'm sorry. I was raised in that nightmare. But I'm done. I'm done with them. I'm choosing you." Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Daniel had already called 911. We reached the road just as the first police car turned the corner. I collapsed to my knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Daniel dropped beside me, gently placing his hands on my shoulders. "Ariana, I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I didn't save you soon enough." I pulled away from him, tears burning my eyes. "Daniel, I can't be with you. Not after this, not after what your family did, not after what you did." His face broke. "I understand," he said softly. "I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right, even if you never forgive me." The police swarmed the house behind us. Margaret, Ethan, the ritual room, the photographs, the bindings, the notebooks. Everything. As I sat on the cold pavement, wrapped in a blanket, watching the flashing lights dance across the dark sky, I understood the truth. My grandmother didn't die in fear. She died fighting for me. And because of her warning, because she didn't give up, I was alive. Daniel was taken into custody for questioning. He didn't resist. I never saw him again. And though the scars of that night stayed with me, one thing always gave me strength. When I looked up at the sky, I felt her. Grandma Rose. Watching. Protecting.